Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Friday. This is Seattle Now. This week, state legislators had a 24-hour marathon meeting to pass the Millionaire's tax. Seattle might install some temporary public bathrooms ahead of the World Cup, and a local vegan restaurant sparked outrage by adding chicken and eggs to the menu. Arts reporter Jas Keimig and Seattle Met food and drink editor Naomi Tomky are here to break down the week. But first, let's get you caught up. First, the bad news. Both directions of Interstate 405 will be closed again in Bothell this weekend near the 522 interchange. Now, the good news, it's the final weekend of construction as crews add additional toll lanes. The closure begins tonight at 9. Lanes will reopen early Monday morning. State officials are warning of significant delays on I-405 this weekend. The Port of Tacoma has filed a federal lawsuit to try to recoup $10 million it spent on cleaning up pollution. The polluted properties were owned by the chemical company PQ LLC before the port acquired them in 2008. The Tacoma News Tribune reports the port claims the company left behind decades of industrial waste and contaminated the property. The company did not respond to the News Tribune's requests for comment. And the state legislature has restored $60 million for wildfire prevention. It will go toward hiring firefighters, prescribed burns, and forest restoration efforts. The funding was cut from the state budget last year. Commissioner of Public Lands Dave Upthegrove says the restored funding will reduce fire dangers in communities near wildlands and help protect air quality for urban centers. We're back with more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. It's Friday again. That windstorm was no joke. Jas Keimig's here. They're a local arts reporter and curator for Unstreamable. Jas, good to have you in the studio.
What's up?
Naomi Tomky's here, too. She's Seattle Met's food and drink editor. Naomi, good to see you.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Okay, you two, before we dive in, local institution, the Wayward Vegan, is making changes, and not everyone is okay with the new plan. The cafe's owners posted on social media this week that they're changing their name from the Wayward Vegan back to the Wayward Cafe and adding options like chicken, eggs, cheese, and non-vegan desserts. The cafe in the Roosevelt neighborhood has been around town and vegan-friendly for 20 years. Jas, should they expect to lose hardcore vegans? Is this a betrayal?
Absolutely. It's a stab in the back. I feel like the Wayward Vegan was known as like one of the few really good spots for vegan food. I dated a vegan for a little bit. I feel like the concept of adding back in like dairy and meat just feels, if I was a vegan, I would be really upset. And like my sister's a vegetarian and she's so sensitive to the smells of bacon or chicken and all of that stuff. So I feel like, you know, even if they still have the vegan options, it's still not a vegan space, at its core.
Yeah, this is a big deal for some vegans who say the cafe was plant-based because it was rooted in an ethical principle and that this choice abandons that. Naomi, is the Wayward Cafe pivot an issue, or is it just too difficult to be specialized in this city?
We're in a really hard moment and place to be running a restaurant right now, and that space is really quite large. And so I see what they might have been thinking, but I also feel like they're abandoning their core audience, and it's a trust thing. Vegans love going to a place where they can trust that there hasn't been any meat anywhere near their food. And on that Facebook post, they haven't answered about the question that people keep asking about separate cooking spaces, which is something that a lot of vegans feel extremely strong about. And it feels like they're really turning their back on their core audience. And so can you be specialized or not is one question, but also can you run a restaurant that abandons its core customer is another one.
Vegans are some of the most principled people around, and I feel like if there's a demographic to like not upset, it would be them because they will hold the line 100%. And I think that they should.
It's principled.
Yeah.
It's principled. All right. We are moving on to the big story of the week. After 24 hours of debate, the Washington State House passed the so-called Millionaire's tax this week. The debate lasted more than 24 hours from 5:38 p.m. Monday until about 6:10 p.m. Tuesday. Lawmakers were sleeping in 1-hour shifts. There was pressure because the session ended on Thursday. What is the longest meeting, Naomi, you've been in that remained productive?
I'm a writer. I'm lucky to make it through this podcast taping.
House Clerk Bernard Dean told Axios it was certainly the longest floor debate in recent history. He says he's worked in the House for 26 years, can't recall a floor debate this long. Actually, I'm a little impressed because a lot of these lawmakers are over 40, and that is being generous with the age. It's hard to function on low sleep after 30, I think. Did you ever try to pull an all-nighter studying in college? When is the last time you were awake for anywhere close to a full day?
I was awake for a full day in June during Pride.
Okay, all right.
I took like a little bit of a nap around like from 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. And then I went out and I stayed out until 5 p.m. the next day.
What about you, Naomi?
I'm not really a stay up all night kind of person. I've had some tough travel days in my life, but that doesn't sound so tough.
My senior year in college, I worked as the morning news writer at WBUR in Boston, and I would have to be in at 4:30 in the morning. But as a young person in college in Boston, I was partying on Lansdowne Street until 2 a.m., and then we'd get some food, and then I'd roll in and head to work. I cannot imagine doing that today, at least not intentionally, for sure.
Yeah. No, I think it's kind of fun, like a little bit, because you feel, especially I'm sure for like your job, it's like, oh, like a weird sleepover with like guys that like I kind of hate, actually, you know, but it's like for something that you really believe in.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm sure they'll be recounting this into their older days.
Yeah. The Millionaire's tax debate had quite a lot of theatrics, according to Axios. A failed amendment would have blocked the tax from taking effect until the NBA brings a professional basketball team back to Seattle. Another lawmaker broke into song. Are these theatrics necessary to get the job done these days, to capture attention, to keep the debate going?
Maybe. It just feels like there's got to be a better way to do it than sleep depriving our elderly representatives.
Do we have to hurt to help? I'm just thinking back to the Lincoln Douglas debates. I think those went on for like 14 hours. People did take a little break in between, but I think they were probably a little more substantive than what was going on in the House overnight. Interesting note on all of this. A well-known billionaire is leaving Washington on the heels of this being passed. Starbucks founder and basketball trader Howard Schultz is moving to Florida. Now, the timing might make a headline or two, but he didn't actually mention the tax in his goodbye letter. And a retired guy moving to Florida is definitely not news.
First of all, I don't think there's ever been anybody that fewer people have been sorry to see.
I know. I'm like, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
All right, moving on to our next topic. Get your popcorn ready, film nerds. It's Oscars weekend. The PMW is in the spotlight, but before we talk about awards, let's talk about how to capitalize on a moment. In a supreme PR move, Seattle Opera and Pacific Northwest Ballet responded to a snub by actor Timothée Chalamet over the weekend and turned it into an opportunity to sell tickets. The Oscar nominee said no one cares about ballet and opera during a recent CNN town hall. Seattle Opera offered a 14% discount on select seats for Carmen for patrons using the Timothy promo code. The 14% is a jab at Chalamet, said something about losing 14 cents in viewership. Seattle Times reports the company sold 203 tickets with that discount code over the weekend, bringing in nearly $29,000 in sales. Damn, tickets are expensive. The ballet did something similar and sold about 65 tickets. Is this making the best of a dumb situation?
I think it's so corny. I'm so sorry. I think that is like extremely corny to do. I think I'm not one to come to Timmy C's, defense, but I think in context, I think that it makes a lot of sense what he was talking about. And I think that them capitalizing off of his lip service proves even further that no one is talking about ballet and opera in the same. And I like ballet and opera. Like I go at least like once a year and I look around and who's around me? It's old people. And that's, no shade to them, but I'm like, there's not young people going to these things because they're cost prohibitive, and I think that's what he was talking about. I don't know. I just think that it's like so corny. That's my take.
What's your take, Naomi?
I mean, maybe I like corny things. I just thought it was like a little bit of silly fun, and it got people to buy some tickets.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
And our art scene is clearly in need of people buying more tickets.
Timmy's full of hot air here, honestly. Even if there's truth.
Yeah.
As an artist, as a person in the theater arts, he should be more respectful of the artists around him. And maybe I would like a little more grace.
Yeah, maybe I'm like anti-Grace right now. At least like there's been a lot said about his Oscar campaign of like
How to lose an Oscar in 10 days
and
is
like
what
really
I read.
like I think that people aren't used, especially nowadays, like wanting something and like going hard and being like I'm the best at it is really looked down upon because I feel like celebrities' lives are like picked apart and what they're posting, whatever. So maybe I kind of admire him just going balls to the wall and being like I actually like do not want to have Grace. Like,
all right.
I'm in.
All right. Well, maybe there's some truth here and maybe there's some hot air from an arrogant guy. Both of those things can be true at the same time. Let's talk about something local and fun. A movie that was actually filmed in Washington, not Vancouver, masquerading as Seattle, which is so often the case. Train Dreams was filmed largely in the forests of eastern Washington, which is stunning. Apparently, they had to film in the very early morning to get that beautiful natural morning light.
It was very beautiful. That's the real draw.
Does a movie being filmed here in Washington give you more incentive to watch it?
I like to support the local industry. I love a little Washington woods on the screen.
I want to know what the difference is that you notice when something's being filmed in Vancouver versus being filmed in Washington. I always notice the rain. They try to make the rain way too hard.
Yeah, I think there's also something really different about Seattle light, like the way that light is filtered through the city here. I don't know what it is. I mean, Vancouver's really not that far, but there's something that seems so much more blue or something about Vancouver than like the gray-green of here.
Do you have Oscar picks?
The only other movie I've seen that's nominated for anything is K-pop Demon Hunters.
Win.
How is that?
So I have an 8 and a 10-year-old daughter, and so I've seen it 5 times. I've really come around to it.
Yeah.
Jas, couple days left before the Oscars. What should people make sure they take time to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sinners and One Battle After Another, I think they're going, head to head. And I think that they're really great films. I think they're very different. For me personally, I need to catch up on the international film category. So I need to see like The Secret Agent from Brazil, The Voice of Hinrajah. But I think a lot of the I don't really have a lot of complaints about things being nominated. I'm actually, I'm kind of anti-Frankenstein and I'm kind of anti-Hamnet.
Really?
Yeah, that just didn't work for me.
Okay.
But I love the Oscars. It's like nerd
I heard great
Super Bowl.
things about Frankenstein from some people, but I guess not Jas Keimig.
Yeah, I know. I'm feeling really like spicy today. I don't know what it is.
You are a little spicy. I like it. All right. Well, speaking of awards, Naomi, you went all across the city to find the best of the best fries and came out with a list of 10. This list is also a good example of just how many different kinds of fries you can find in the city. Curly fries at Milk Drunk on Beacon Hill, Greek fries at Gyro Heroes in West Seattle, a thicker skin-on fry at Good Voyage in South Park. I'm a little bit of a purist when it comes to fries. I don't like it drowning in stuff. I'm more of a dipper. I just don't want them to get wimpy halfway through.
Yeah.
You know? Which cut of fry is best and which one is the worst?
So I will say I came in with that same attitude and ended up with 2 topped fries on the list because they were so good and held up so well.
All right. Well, I'm listening then. I'm listening.
I do think it's a personal question, and it also sort of depends on what people ate growing up. You have the people who grew up on McDonald's fries or the people who grew up on Red Robin fries. And you got all these different
I have feelings
styles.
about Red Robin fries. Anyway.
So, I try to get something for everyone. If you don't like curly fries, probably don't go to the place that I suggested for curly fries. But overall, this will be the best example of those styles.
Okay. All right. Well, I have tried a couple of them on your list. I've definitely tried the triangle fries. Delicious. St. Bread, been there as well. Not
really
animal
good.
style, though.
Oh, yeah. I haven't had the animal style.
Yeah, just the super fries there. Which fry will you not eat? I will not eat steak fries. I gotta be honest. I always push steak fries to the side.
I will also say that I did not find any steak fries or any waffle fries that were good enough that I felt like they could make it on the list.
Okay. Well, this is a list of 10 places in Seattle, so a city with a lot of restaurants. On the whole, is Seattle a good fry city?
I think so. There were definitely a lot of places that were really good but didn't quite make the list because it was a good fry but didn't have enough else going on to make it better than something that was similarly good.
All right. Well, speaking of fries, let's talk about sauce. As I mentioned, I am a dipper when it comes to fries. So I was intrigued by Muckleshoot Casino's Sauce Machine Heinz Remix. It's the first in the state, apparently. It's similar to the Coke Freestyle machine where you can mix and match flavors. Genius or gross? I think it's genius.
Yeah, I'm like,
I could definitely get lost in the sauce.
I think
this.
it depends, who's wielding that power.
Yeah, okay, okay, right.
Yeah.
Much like any place where you can choose, you can go badly wrong.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you need some acumen.
Yeah. I'm not like a huge sauce guy either. Like I didn't like ketchup for a while, and I know. I liked plain things because I'm disgusting. But I've gotten really into ketchup like as an adult, and I would say like I love a nice aioli, like the one from Augsburger. Like they have this like mayo sauce that and their fries are delicious. So I always like rock with that. So I think I could be open to this sauce-o-matic or whatever it's called.
It feels gimmicky, but things are fun. I can't hold it against them.
Yeah.
Do you think the best sauces are things like Augsburger's aioli, where it has a little bit of originality, and like I'm not coming up with that on my own.
No, yeah.
So like I'm gonna leave that to the expert.
It was a huge revelation to me to learn that you could take like any sauce, put mayonnaise or sour cream in it, and like turn it into something amazing.
Yeah, I didn't realize that that's what fry sauce was.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
What have I been doing my whole life?
I love fry sauce, and I actually give a shout out to Dreamland, which was among my favorite fries on the list, because you can order fry sauce with your fries.
Yeah. All right. One last thing before we go. 750,000 people are predicted to stream into Seattle for the World Cup this summer, and at some point they're going to need a restroom. Pioneer Square is getting the potty started.
Brutal.
This week, the Pioneer Square Preservation District heard a proposal to install toilets named Thrones in time for the World Cup. These are not your typical honey bucket setup. The company markets them as the smart, delightful public restroom. They're fancy with sensors and stuff. Now, people have been calling for public restrooms in Seattle for years. Now that the World Cup is coming, this could become a reality. Is this just an example of cleaning up the house because company's coming over?
Yes.
Maybe we can keep it?
Yeah.
Can you guys keep the house clean?
It's a one-year pilot. It's a one-year pilot. So you know how pilots tend to go, right? We'll just try it for a year and then a year and a half. If we can come up with the money, which I hope we do, I hope we hold on to these things because public restrooms are very scarce in this city. It is tricky to find a can.
Yeah.
It really is. How demanding are you about the places you do your biz? What's your public restroom threshold?
I'll pee anywhere, honestly. Yeah.
I'm from Jersey. I grew up Gen X. We're just out in the streets, man.
Yeah.
I have a very, very
I'm not
low
a precious peer.
Yeah. Peeing in public, I think I really have to get to a point where it's like looking dire, but I think I inherited my mom's ability to hold my pee really well, which is so bad for you. I think
really
it's
is.
better to
Don't
just
do
pee
that,
in the
kids.
street. Yeah,
Don't do that, kids. What about you, Naomi?
If I'm going to go in there, I want them to be reasonably clean, and we don't exactly have a great track record on that for public restrooms.
I like going in with soft eyes. I think that's the way to handle public restrooms.
What do you mean by that?
Soft eyes, you just don't look too hard.
Oh, yeah.
What I will say is I travel a lot for my job, and there are places that have figured this out. You got the automatic seat thingy, the plastic that rolls around. Like that would solve so much of the problem with most public restrooms, which is you can't get anywhere near the seat, and then once one person can't get near the seat, the next person can't. And
it becomes a thing. It becomes, and we're talking about biohazards here, so for sure. What's your hot tip for finding a bathroom in the city?
I go to Nordstrom.
That is so smart.
Yeah.
I go to hotels.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah.
I'm a hotel girl too.
Yeah. Pop into the hotel.
Wait, can you just why? Because they have
They usually have a restroom on the first floor in the reservation area.
Oh, interesting.
And there's always people milling around, so you can kind of just look.
Yeah.
As long as you are
confident
and look like you know what you're doing,
That's
you can just
right.
sort of wander in.
That's it. Just make like you're supposed to be there. That is right. Even if we added a few of these things around town, I wonder, is that enough? Are businesses going to need to waive their customer-only policy for a few weeks? during the World Cup. Yeah.
Come on, it's hard out here already.
Yeah. Sad tourist needs to go to the bathroom. What are you going to do?
I know. Yeah.
No, you cannot have the code. You cannot have the code.
I mean, I would, if the city of Seattle brought down tap to pay toilets, I would be tapping to pay.
Oh, yeah.
And just having like an attendant there or doing something like that, I think is the best solution.
Well, that's an interesting, I love that. Yeah. I would pay 30 cents, 40 cents, maybe $1.
I think in this economy, I would pay $1.
I would absolutely pay $1.
$2.50.
I would go up, depending on the situation.
Yeah, depending on how dire.
Listen.
You listening?
Dynamic
pricing.
Dynamic P pricing. Yeah. I like it. All
Capitalism.
Right. And we are going to leave it there. Jas Keimig is a local arts reporter and curates Unstreamable. Naomi Tomky is Seattle Met's food and drink editor. Thanks, Naomi.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, Jas.
Good to see you, too.
Appreciate you listening to Seattle Now, and thanks to our generous donors for your support. Hey, take a minute to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app. We'd sure appreciate it. Today's episode was produced by Vaughn Jones. It was edited by Andy Hurst. Our production team also includes Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you tonight for Evening Headlines.